Hello friends, welcome to our channel BISP Solution. Let's start our today's session with the today's topic, that is task execution level replenishment. Right. So the task. So in the cloud, WMS cloud, the way operational instructions are sent in the is using the task. So we use the task for sending the instruction, operational instructions. We use the task for sending the operational instructions and to the shop floor user, right? From the warehouse management. And there are many different kind of tasks such as cycle count, replenishment, and the picking tasks. So the cycle count task, this CC task, we have already covered in our last session. This topic we will see the task in replenishment, and the picking task is also the part of replenishment. So let's see the task template and the task management, right? And some overview of the task, right? The task, how we create the task, we already seen uh, in the cycle count. And this cycle count, we perform the task and we send the instructions from the warehouse management to the floor user so that we can perform the task, that this particular task, right? So this is our application, and let's see some task template created in our last session, a description and the template type, and this is the number of maximum number of tasks. So you can create the task from here, right? And in the same way have the task management. So once we create the task, like the task created in the cycle count and replenishment, so once we created the task can be viewed through the task uh, task. You can see this is processing, and you can also assign, and we can also we have the created timestamp, and so let's say this cancel task. So you can move the task. You can status, I think, right, got this hold task, right now this is disabled, and we click on this cancelled, it is also disabled, and when click on this ready, it gets enabled, right? So if you want to hold this task, and select the record with the status is ready, and you can click on this hold task so that we can hold the task, right? Change it as 30, and you can submit it. So the priority changes to 30, right? And we can also assign the task to the user. So suppose select click on this assign user, we have to select the user from here, and you can suppose since vendor one, and click on submit. So in that way you can assign the task to the user, right? And we can also recalculate the task status. This is recalculate the task status and select the record from cancel. Right. So status is processing status from here. So no valid task is available. So we don't have any task right now. So that we can we cannot change the status of that. Uh, let's check one more time. Right. So once the tasks are created and put in the task pool, the task can be executed by the RF execute task menu, right? Once the task is created and it put into the task pool, so the task can be executed by the RF gun via RF gun. So this is all about the task execution, right? From creation to allocation to the task management, right? Creation from the task template, and the task is created in the cycle count, replenishment, right? Now we have the overview of replenishment, right? So the right. So what is the purpose? The purpose. What is the purpose of replenishment? So the purpose of replenishment is to manage based on the requirements such as satisfying order for store, right? So mainly the purpose is to perform in the active location and also allow you to perform the reserve to reserve replenishment, right? So we have the replenishment, and under the replenishment we have the maximum capacity, percentage of max, and reactive and order based, right? So each replenishment has a different criteria when the replenishment wave is triggered, right? Suppose we triggered for the percentage of the max and for the reactive, right? So these are the different types of replenishment, and then different criteria. We have the different criteria when the replenishment wave is triggered, right? Suppose the maximum capacity, right? So when we when capacity triggered, so when a location's current quantity goes below the below the required minimum time, the minimum capacity replenishment time gets triggered. In the same way, the percentage of max, when the volume of item in the location goes below the location's pre-configured percentage of maximum volume, right? At that time, this type of replenishment gets triggered, right? In the same way as reactive, and it trigger when you manually scan a location and order based, right? When this type of replenishment triggered when orders stock keeping units need to be replenished in picking location, right? So different replenishment gets triggered when they required, right? And we have the template mode, we can say the replenishment template mode. So modes we have like minimum capacity modes, we have the percentage of max, right? So the mode perform when minimum capacity, it means the location unit. So the mode is minimum capacity, and the mode is percentage of max. So it means the volume, minimum and maximum locations volume, right? And we have the item assignment, right? So it goes below and the required minimum quantity, we required minimum quantity and our current locations current quantity goes below. At that time this mode, the minimum capacity mode, gets triggered, right? In the same way we have if the volume based, so at that time the percentage of max is triggered mode, and when the capacity quantity is goes below, at that time the minimum capacity mode gets triggered. In the same way we have the reactive mode, right? So some additional configuration, like we use the RF module, right? And we add the screen to this RF module, and a mode, and this mode is triggered when the order of supply, this like SKU, and SKU means the stock keeping unit needs to be replenished in picking location, right? At picking location. And based on that we have some expiry date, we have the expiry date range in the replenishment, right? So the replenishment allocation based on the expiry date range rule, and allows you to fulfill your order based on the rules we set, the rules we set in this replenishment allocation, right? So we can configure expiry date range rules based on the picking wave and standalone replenishment logic, right? And system will honor the expiry date range rule configure on the wave template or the replenishment template, right? So if you have any picking wave with the replenishment rule configured, your picking wave is also set up with an expiry date. This expiry date range rule, right? If you have any picking wave and with the replenishment rule configured, your picking wave is also expiry date range rule. When the system is honor with expiry date range, the wave template will create the replenishment allocation, right? So and if you're doing any standalone we have the expiry date at that time, you can also available in the replenishment template UI. At that time you can manually put your expiry date range, right? So let's check how we define the expiry date range, right? So we have to go to the screen name is like replenishment template. So this is template, right? So this is the replenishment rule, you can see over here, and here you can create the replenishment rule. And the same way the expiry date range, you can create the expiry date range. First we these are some pre-date and allow the expiry inventory. Here you can see the expiry date range, right? First let's create how we create. Suppose we create the expiry date range. Let's create, and let's less than 30 uh, days, and XZ this client. Let's save it. So here can we define the expiry date range less than 30, less than 60, less than 120 days, 360, right? And let's create, and this is the expiry date range, right? When you create any template, replenishment template, at that time we can define the expiry date range. Select it. You can see 30 and 60, 60. Let's refresh it. 60, 360, 120. I think 30. I think it take more time, some time, and after some time it will trigger. It will show here, display here the expiry date range less than 30. Right? So suppose we select the record and click on this edit icon, and we define this 60, right? And you can save it. So you can see the expiry date range is less than 30, 60, less than 60 days. So this is the replenishment template over here. You can create the template, like template name is suppose Tata, and template replenishment trigger mode. So let's cancel out. Let's first create the rule over here. Let's first let's discuss about some configuration. Then we create this all these things. So configuration of the replenishment. We set up the location for the replenishment. We setting up the replenishment rule. We setting up the task template, and we create the replenishment template. Right. So first we create the template. Right. So in the first thing is we have the replenishment zone, and second is allocation zone, right? So the replenishment zones are locations that are replenished to, right? Sorry, the replenishment zones are the locations that are replenished to, while the location zones are the location that you pick from the replenish that replenishment, right? So let's create one by one, then after that we can easily understand the concept of this replenishment. So first is replenishment zone, right? So click on this zone screen, right? So these are the replenishment zone. Let's create one. What are the code? Yeah, the Tata, so that we can easily, right? So we define as the Tata, right? And let's create it. In that way, we can create the replenishment zone, right? We have the code and we have the description, right? Now let's move to the location. We have to choose a location to replenish by the assigning its replenishment zone. So we have some location or not. Suppose we have the let's take any we have the location. Suppose let's take this Supremo tablet we have. Let's create one data. I think we have created the, let's search it out. I think we have the data area is, I don't know what is the dedicated company. Now let's create sorry, create new one with the Supremo. Type is active. Whatever type is like we created for the accessories area barcode. No issue. What is the area? Area is the area level you can define. I think it's defined A, 1, 2, and L1. Barcode is data 1, 2, 3, 4. So how we can identify from here? I think we define with the item. Let's cancel out. Right, Tata XYZ. Let's take it so that we can easily identify our location. Right, Tata. Suppose select the record and click on this edit icon. Right, and in this we have the Z replenishment zone. Save it. Right. So in this way we can create, in the same way let's create a location. So right, I think we edit it, and the same way we have, this is a location zone, right? So at that time you can also define this allocation zone over here. So suppose we define the data, and this is the location for replenishment zone. Let's take another This is AS2510. Select this record and click on this edit icon, and we have the allocation zone, right? So this is the allocation zone. We have to provide uh, we have to set the allocation zone, so there is not any drop down, so that we can create allocation zone, right? So we have created this replenishment zone. Now let's create the replenishment template, right? So the template is over here, replenishment, and click on this create. Start with the area. So we configure the WMS to execute like we have to execute, and we have populate over here some replenishment area. So which area we are going to replenish? So area is not mandatory. Now template name, suppose we have the Tata uh, replenish, right? So this is the replenishment name. Let's select the zone. What kind of zone we are going to select? Zone is not reflecting over here. Is the rule. So we have the inter assembly, and you can create, right? Suppose I select the inter, and what is the task creation template? I think we created the task session replenishment trigger mode. We have also uh, we have also discussed about this replenishment trigger mode, minimum and the moment request, right? So we can select as per requirement, like minimum capacity, right? And let's save it. We have the invalid. We have to define this one, so define this as a series. Let's save it. Task template is invalid. This task template, where is the task template? This one. Let's select any other. So let's define, this is pick from active with. Let's click on save. There is a task template issue. Like this one, and click on save. Right, it's created. So in this way we create the task template. Template, we select the replenishment, right? And we have to setting up the replenishment rule. So how we create the replenishment rule? We have to go to this replenishment rule, click on this create, right? And we define the rules. What are the rules? In our and Tata, let's see the Tata replenishment uh, rule, right? RR. And what is the capacity check method? We have the unit, volume, weight, right? So let's go with the unit, right? And if you want to ignore the allocated quantity, you can ignore it. If you want to ignore the capacity for the last permanent location, you can also ignore it, right? And what is the ignored order detail? We have a b c attribute 0 to a to o. We have already defined all these things, right? And we have the unit of measure. We have round up 1 unit of measure, you can also, right? So select the save this record. Where is data? Select this record and click on this detail icon, right? And click on this create, and at that we have defined, we have, right? Like last in, so you can save it. So only consolidated replenishment is supported from the active location. So let's see. So in this way we create the replenishment template, right? Go to the template, rule is created, right? Expiry date we have already covered this, and we have to run this template, right? And you can also check the this replenishment in the wave inquiry. Let's check the wave inquiry. How inquiry we have? Let's refresh it. So this is the run number, and right now we have not run the status. So again, go to the replenishment template, right? Now let's execute this replenishment wave, right? So we are on the replenishment template. So we have to select our template, this data template, and let's click on this run template. So please continue. Right. We have to check the status in the inventory screen, right? We have to check in the inventory screen. Reserve inventory. So here is not populated right now. It will take some time. We have inventory. Okay, no issue. Now we have this one, and we have covered task execution, overview of replenishment, and the multi-level replenishment, right? So in WMS, the inventory were replenished to a active location was done based on the location, the maximum capacity. And even when there is inventories available in the permanent location, the system could replenish only up to the maximum, and this required to creation of replenishment task for each time to satisfy the order need, and which is done needed manually intervention, right? So in the environment like fast paced seasonal warehouse, there is demand to introduce a constant flow of replenishment to meet the order supply, right? So in order to improve the efficiency and increase the productivity in our WMS, we have the new functionality called as multi-level replenishment, right? So in the replenishment inventory beyond, they configure the location max, and this multi-level replenishment have the ability to supply the inventory in the replenishment sequence when the inventories are depleted in the destination location, right? So let's see this workflow of the multi-level replenishment, right? So the multi-level replenishment allow user to keep replenishment and the final destination, that is active location, right? So reserve location, this reserve location consists of the bulk inventory having the full LPN, and all the inventory from the bulk reserve location come from the receiving area, right? These inventories are moved to the forward bulk area pallets and by the warehouse floor user, right? And we have the drop user, so the location where the floor user drop and pick the LPN from reserve location to a drop location through a regular task, right? In many cases there are many scenarios where the user may partially split the inventory before reaching the picking and drop location, and these are temporary location between the source to the destination where the system instruct the user to replenish inventory and place to the final location, right? And the final destination location is active location where the picker pick the stock keeping units and the complete the order request. In the final destination, user can define only one stock keeping unit per on the screen, you can see, right? So here is the brief representation of the wave we have already created. So the wave for an order and check the inventory in the parent active location and reserve location to meet the need, right? So this is the phase where the replenishment takes place, right? During this transaction, there are many scenarios involved with the multiple drop location where you can require the pick inventory and drop the another location, and then final destination. In such case, the inventory needs to drop location to reach the final destination, and this is inventory needs to pass through a multiple task zone to reach the final destination. And this process of moving inventory from one task zone to the another is complete using the multiple level replenishment, right? So once you run the wave, the system create a replenishment task where required inventory to push from reserve location to a drop location, right? And in order to move inventory from first task zone to the next task zone, we have to configure this path and step replenishment to scan the task time, right? And system will determine which destination location needs to be and final destination. So this is a high level picture of uh, and you can say the workflow of multi-level replenishment, right? So we have covered the task execution, overview of replenishment, and multi-level replenishment, right? So thanks for attending this session. Thank you so much.